We're now moving on to our next aquaculture panel, focusing on inland production. We're going to hear from Tony Vaught, who's the president of Professional Aquaculture Services, and then Mr. Beer, president and CEO of the fishery. But Tony is going to kick us off with a 5-minute presentation on inland production.
Great, thank you very much.
It's good to see you.
Power go. Oh, okay. Is that up there? Is how we put that one up? And is this the next slide back and forth? Thank you. Got it. Again, thank you for having us all here at Bodega Bay. It's a great site and great work done here. Thanks for hosting this. I'm going to bring us inland for a little bit. Although some of us have 1 foot in salt water and 1 foot in fresh water. Striped bass, for instance, is one that can be produced in fresh water. Let me get to the right one here. Striped bass is one that is produced in fresh water and can be acclimated into salt water within 24 hours, and which is quite amazing, and then grow up to market size in salt water. And like Don said, some are shipped out now to Mexico, and they come back to the United States. No reason for that. This is a list of fish that have been raised in California. You see it's a long history of aquaculture, starting with oysters in the 1850s and moving down the line. This is not a complete list, but it just gives you an idea of the history of some of the things that are done. And I think we can move forward with even a more impressive list if we really get with aquaculture. We got to get serious on aquaculture, or we're just not going to have any seafood to eat in this country. Striped bass, sturgeon, channel catfish, rainbow trout, a hybrid carp that's made for the Asian market in San Francisco, largemouth bass, and tilapia. These are representative fish that are all fish that are being produced in California right now profitably and have been moving forward with technology, markets, and some of these go into the recreational market, which is a big market in California, trout and channel catfish specifically, and largemouth bass. Sturgeon for caviar, striped bass for food, and of course tilapia for food, and the Asian markets, live market for aquaculture is robust. There are tens of thousands of fish being trucked each week into the Asian markets in the Bay Area and Los Angeles and throughout the state. This is again not representative of all of them, but it gives you an idea of how diverse California is. You got tilapia in the south, you got tilapia in the north, you got catfish in the middle of the state, you got trout in the middle of the state. There's even trout farms in Southern California. It's because California is just really unique. It's a unique place in the world. It has different climates, it has different topography, it has different water, it has geothermal water, it has water that is caught in reservoirs that's used throughout the state. It's got a transfer system for water that can be tapped into to grow more fish. It's incredibly set up for aquaculture. Let's talk about water. Aquaculture is a non-consumptive use of water. We borrow it and we grow fish in it. And when we're done with it, it goes off to other farms in a freshwater situation. It goes off to rice farms. It goes to alfalfa farms that are harvested to grow animals. It goes into nut and production, almond production. So we just borrow it. And it's an excellent way to actually enhance the water, uses less fertilizer. It's been used for several different crops. So you can see here, there's a rice farm here that uses the water, recirculates it through, grows rice. In the middle there, that water goes off to pasture. And over on the other side there, several crops are growing around that farm. If you look at freshwater fish farms in California, they're surrounded by greenery. and that's because they're productive and they use the water. Very little water goes into the environment from fish farms. It's utilized and only borrowed. Aquaponics is gaining a lot of press these days. I think the farms of the future are going to look totally different. 50 years from now, we're going to look at the farms that we grew, acres and acres of lettuce, acres and acres of everything, and we're going to have farms that are technically set up for smaller footprints. Aquaponics is the use of fish. The water goes through the plants. There's no soil involved. It's recirculated through those plants, goes back to the fish, and a lot of work needs to be done to make the economic models work, but I think you're going to be seeing more and more of this.
We have about 2 minutes, sir.
Okay. Fingerling production inland for saltwater farms is being done. These are striped bass eggs to the right there. Production of striped bass and the fingerlings. We talked a little bit about support of aquaculture. Feed companies are working very, very hard to cut down on fish meal and eliminate it by use of algae and use of soybeans. And so we're not going to be using fish from the ocean to feed fish. In fact, we're not now in many cases. So this builds business in California. There's feed companies that are in California that can grow. There's feed companies that want to come to California. We just need more fish growing. Working waterfronts, this is at Humboldt Bay. This has got fresh water and salt water. It's got hot and cold running water. Fresh and salt water can come together to produce brackish fish, saltwater fish, and freshwater fish. Again, processing and marketing, all the businesses surrounding aquaculture are robust. Research. We didn't talk a lot about this, but California has been the leader in research and agriculture for years, and the rest of the country and the world has benefited. Same thing can happen with aquaculture. We need to make sure that we have robust research in California that supports aquaculture around the world. Opportunities, over 24 species growing for recreation and research. Research on new species is ongoing. California is poised to lead in aquaculture production and research. Aquaculture hatcheries and onshore support will grow to supply farms as production increases, and demand for seafood will see a steady rise. Well, what do we need? We need to promote and protect aquaculture. Make sure aquaculture is considered when crafting agriculture and fishery policy. Help streamline the permit process to assist in dialogues between fish farmers and agencies. Permit processes that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars discourage aquaculture growth. Insist that groups opposing aquaculture use sound science as a basis. This is really important. We can't be fighting things that have no basis for, in fact. And we need to recognize the economic and environmental benefits of aquaculture. So, like I said, we need to get with it in aquaculture, or we're not going to have any seafood in the United States and quality seafood. The rest of the world is eating it at home, and they're not sending it this way unless it's going to be $20 or $30 per pound. You used to be able to go to the store and you would look, and if you couldn't afford a steak, you'd buy a piece of fish. It was less expensive. It's flipped completely now. You go to buy fish, you can't afford it. You're going to go buy a piece of meat because it's going for $15, $18, $20 per pound. Thank you very much, and maybe we'll wait for questions after Ken Beer, and we can address some of the issues in inland fish.
Thank you. The congressman's wondering where that top right fish was farmed. Hey, see, there we go.
The big one?
Hey, there we go, yeah.
The sturgeon?
Yeah.
That's actually a wild fish. Years ago up in
Really?
Columbia, we went up there and we were pulling fish out of the Columbia and out of the Sacramento. Figure of what end was what, and with Serge Dorshoft and with help of Ken Beer and others, we figured out how to grow sturgeon, and Ken will say quite a bit about the sturgeon story.
That's great.
It's absolutely a success story of aquaculture. Same with the others. We pulled those out of the river, figured them out, and so that's some of the things we can do.
That's fantastic. No,
I'll hand it over to Ken, and he has absolutely a success story for